Evangeline Blackthorne stepped from the fog-wrapped coach into the swirling coal dust miasma that choked London's streets at all hours. Her emerald silk parasol unfurled in a ripple, its fronds like a black widow spider's legs grasping for the iron airships that drifted above like coffins. As she moved through the grimy crowd of soot-stained rakes and spinsters, her high-heeled boots clicked against the cobblestones. Her ebony hair shone with the polish of a polished death's head, a stark contrast to the pallid faces around her. She quickened her pace towards her destination, the towering brass structure that loomed above like some demonic titan. Blackthorne Ironworks. Once within the shadow of its monstrous presence, she inhaled deeply. The coal soot stench of steam and iron was heavy on the air, a metallic tang that made her mouth water. Her gaze traveled up to the clock tower. It was not time, it was life. Every minute hand ticked with the rhythmic beat of a human heart, pumping blood like life itself. As she crossed the courtyard, the fog seemed to part and reveal everything, the foundries churning away in their deathly stillness. Ironworkers hunched over hissing boilers that spat fire and steam into the cold night air. Every hammer's blow was a thud against her heart. Atop the tower stood the soul boiler, the Blackthorne's pride, and Evangeline's undoing. It pulsed with an eerie blue light from within, like some monstrous creature feasting on souls. She felt the weight of countless lives inside those cold brass walls. As she approached the massive machine, a figure stepped out, his shadow lengthened grotesquely by the pulsating light. Her husband, Blackthorne himself, the fiend who had taken her life and given it back in this twisted industrial hellhole. Blackthorne's eyes were two chips of coal that seemed to see into her very soul. "You're late," he said, his voice as cold as iron. "Sorry, I was delayed," Evangeline replied, trying to keep the tremble out of her voice. But a tremble there was, a slight quivering in her gloved hand, and the way her parasol wavered like a compass needle, seeking true north. She could feel it now, the heartbeat that synchronized with her own. It pulsed through the entire complex, echoing the rhythm of her own heart, a steady thud that she knew was not just hers. Blackthorne's eyes gleamed at her confusion, but then he merely smiled, a cruel twist of his lips as cold and metallic as the ironwork surrounding them. "This is your new home, darling," he whispered in her ear, as if imparting some dark secret. And in that instant, Evangeline realized why Blackthorne Ironworks had been so silent, why it was so empty. Her heart skipped a beat, and she felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold London air. Her husband's smile turned from an icy smirk to a leer as he pulled her closer, his hands on her waist holding her in place like some monstrous mechanical love. His breath carried the scent of coal and steam. She could feel it now, a heartbeat thrumming deep within her, keeping time with that of the soul boiler. "Welcome back, my dear," Blackthorne whispered, and for an instant the world seemed to freeze, as Evangeline felt her heart become one with this monstrous machine. Evangeline's emerald silk parasol snapped shut with a sound like a gunshot in the hush of the courtyard, its fronds folding back onto themselves as if seeking some refuge within their own cocoon-like structure. The Blackthorne Ironworks loomed around her like an iron fist, pulsating blue light seeping into every shadow and crevice. Every hammer blow was a thud against her heart, each steam whistle a shriek in the echoing halls of her mind. She stood there paralyzed, trapped between the soul boiler that had taken her life and given it back as fuel for its monstrous heartbeat. The world seemed to stop for a moment when Blackthorne's cold, dead eyes met hers. She could see herself reflected in them, drowning in a sea of coal-black soot and steam. She felt his hand on the nape of her neck, pulling her closer, a lover's caress made from iron and coal dust and human suffering. Her heart raced faster than any steam engine as she realized what he had done. Every woman Blackthorne had ever seduced now lived only to keep the soul boiler going. Their hearts fueled his machines and sustained this monstrosity. And then... She saw it all at once. The pulse of the boiler, a steady thrum that matched her own heart's beat. She realized how empty this place was, devoid of life save for her own, and the countless others Blackthorne had seduced into fueling his infernal machine. With an abruptness that echoed through the courtyard like thunder, she pulled away from him, the parasol snapping back up as if to shield her from a world gone mad. What have you done?" she whispered, her voice barely above a thread, lost in shock and horror. Her husband's smirk never faltered. "Exactly what I promised you," he chuckled, his hand still grasping for hers as if to guide it back to him. "A place where we could create beauty." "But about them," she gasped, trying not to look at the ironworkers hunched over their hellish machinery. "Their hearts keep this machine alive." Blackthorne's voice was like a cold blade sliding into her chest, sending shivers down her spine. "They are our fuel, my dear." She saw them then. The girls, once young and beautiful, but now withered and aged before their time. Their eyes were sunken hollows in faces drawn tight over cheekbones, sharp as razors, their hair dulled to an almost dead gray by the soot they breathed daily. The steam hissing from the boiler was laced with a thick, metallic tang that made her mouth water hungrily. "Fuel," she whispered, feeling a chill run down her spine. Her heart seemed to echo the rhythm of the soul boiler now, a steady thrum that pulsed with each beat. "You were always fuel for me," Blackthorne's voice whispered in her ear, sending shivers down her spine. "My life's work is powered by you." Her eyes met his, and she knew then. She was no longer just wife or mistress to this monstrosity, but the very thing that kept it alive. Blackthorne chuckled, a sound as cold as iron, and took her hand in his once more. "You finally realized your place," he whispered, his breath carrying the scent of coal smoke and steam. "Welcome back, darling." And then the world turned black around her like a shroud thrown over it all. As the darkness fell, she heard the rhythmic thrumming again. Only this time, it wasn't just the machine's heartbeat she felt echoing through the halls. Evangeline Blackthorne stood amidst the sprawling machinery of her husband's ironworks, the pulsing blue light from within the soul boiler, casting long iron shadows across the cobbled ground. She could feel it now, a thrumming that echoed through the entire complex and matched perfectly with the rhythm of her own heart. She had been made to understand. She was not just wife or mistress anymore. No, she was fuel for this monstrosity. With a gasp like steam escaping a boiling kettle, Evangeline pulled away from Blackthorne's grasp. The world seemed to slow around her, every detail etched in stark relief, as if the very fabric of reality had been torn apart and remade anew just for this moment. "You!" Her voice shook, barely above a whisper, lost amongst the cacophony of hammer blows and hissing steam. What have you done?" Her eyes locked on hers, Blackthorne's smirk never faltering. His cold fingers brushed against her cheek, like some cruel mockery of affection as he replied softly, "Exactly what I promised you, darling." "Promised me?" she echoed, a tremor in her voice that threatened to shatter the stillness around them. "All those women. You used their heart." Evangeline's eyes flitted to the foundry workers hunched over their hellish machinery. Her mind reeled as she realized just what Blackthorne had done. Their faces, once vibrant and full of life, were now withered and aged before their time, their hair dulled to an almost deathly gray by the soot they breathed daily, their eyes sunken hollows in faces drawn tight over cheekbones, sharp as razors. The steam hissing from the boiler was laced with a metallic tang that made her mouth water hungrily. Her heart seemed to echo the rhythm of the soul boiler now, each beat a steady thrum that pulsed through the holes like some grotesque melody. "You are always fuel for me," Blackthorne whispered, sending shivers down Evangeline's spine. "But," she stammered, feeling her world collapse around her. "What about us?" He chuckled, a sound as cold as iron. His grip on her wrist tightened like a vice around her wrist. "You are the soul of this place," he whispered, his breath carrying the scent of coal smoke and steam. "You've finally realized your place." Evangeline Blackthorne's eyes locked onto Blackthorne's, and in that moment she knew. There was no going back now. She was a cog in this machine, fuel for its unending heartbeat. As the darkness fell, she heard the rhythmic thrumming again. Only this time, it wasn't just the machine's pulse. No, this was something else entirely. An echo of her own heart, now perfectly attuned to the rhythm of Blackthorne's infernal machine. Evangeline stood there in the pulsating blue light that bathed everything around her like some demonic titan risen from the depths of hell itself. The very heart of Blackthorne Ironworks, the monstrosity she had once called home. Her eyes met Blackthorne's and they locked, the world seeming to slow around them as the reality of their situation finally hit Evangeline. "You are fuel for this place," he whispered softly into her ear, his voice a cold blade sliding into her chest like some cruel mockery of affection. But what about?" she gasped, trying not to let him see the tremors that shook her body like a leaf in the wind. Blackthorne's grip tightened around her wrist, as if he sensed her weakening resolve. His smirk never faltered once. It remained a cold, cruel parody of his usual smile. "You are its soul." Blackthorne's voice was barely above a whisper now, lost amongst the cacophony of hammer blows and hissing steam that surrounded them like some hellish symphony. Her eyes widened in shock as she finally understood what he meant. She had been seduced by her own husband into becoming fuel for this infernal machine. Every beat of her heart echoed back through these halls like an unending pulse of pain. But then something strange happened. A faint echo started up, a rhythm that didn't quite match the thud of the boiler. It was then that Evangeline realized she wasn't alone in feeling its rhythm. There were others who felt it too. Those poor women whose hearts kept this place running. The steam hissing from the boilers now seemed laced with an almost euphoric quality to her. It made her mouth water hungrily, as if she were inhaling some sweet, intoxicating potion straight into her lungs. Suddenly, a collective shiver ran through them all, those women whose hearts kept this place running. Their eyes met hers in the pulsing blue light, and for an instant, Evangeline saw something there. Defiance, yes, but also longing. Her own heart seemed to echo back at her, matching perfectly with the rhythm of the soul boiler now. It thudded out a steady beat that matched her heartbeat precisely. And then it hit her. Those girls, they were no different from her. They too had been seduced into this place by Blackthorne's cruel promises. She gasped as she realized what was happening. How many times had she heard their laughter, seen them smile? How many times had she thought them happy in the warmth and comfort of their own little corners here? And yet, it was all a lie. They too were fuel for this infernal machine, just like her. In that moment, Evangeline Blackthorne knew what she had to do. She didn't need a clockwork precision anymore. No, she needed raw power now. She turned towards the foundry workers and called out in a voice like thunder over the roar of the machinery, "You are not alone." And then, with a suddenness that sent shockwaves through every heart beating within these iron walls, hers included, Evangeline Blackthorne led the rebellion against her own husband's infernal machine. Her eyes met his across the vast expanse of their foundries, and for a moment they locked onto each other. She could see the knowledge dawning there. He saw his creation coming full circle back to him now, its fuel ready to turn on the creator itself.